All right, so imagine you're digging through some old documents, like in some dusty archive or something, and you find this, like, really fragile manuscript.
Wow.
And it's in the early 1800s, like 1828, and the title is, get this, A Revelation to Joseph, the Father of the Seer.
Ooh, that's intriguing. I mean,
The manuscript mentions this, like, marvelous work that's about to happen.
yeah.
But to make things even more interesting, there are pages missing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we're going to have to kind of piece together
Yeah.
what we have
Work with what we've got.
and see what we can uncover, right?
Absolutely. It's not every day that we get to compare like an official document to a personal account from that same time period.
That's true.
It's a really cool opportunity to understand how these events were perceived, back then.
Hold up.
And just for those who might not be familiar, the Doctrine and Covenants is a collection of revelations
Right.
that are accepted as scripture. And revelation in this context means divine communication or guidance.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So one thing that jumped out at me when I was looking at both of these sources was this mention of a marvelous work
Yes.
that was about to happen. And I was like, ooh, what is this marvelous work?
Right. It makes you wonder.
Do you have any insights into what this might have been referring to?
Well, if we think about the historical context, this revelation came just before the Book of Mormon was published.
Oh, okay.
So this marvelous work could very well be referring to that event
Wow.
and the whole, birth of this new religious movement.
So they're on the cusp of something huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very exciting times.
Wow. It wasn't all excitement, though, was it?
No.
Because both sources also really emphasize that anyone who's going to be part of this work
Yes.
needs to have some serious dedication.
They do. Yeah. They're not messing around.
Yeah, like no messing around.
The wording that they use really emphasizes this idea of complete commitment. Phrases like serving God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength.
That's intense.
Yeah, it suggests that this is not just a casual hobby.
Right.
This is a life-altering commitment.
Wow. You're all in.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And it's interesting, too, how both sources outline all these specific qualities that are needed,
Yes.
for this work. We've got faith, hope, and charity.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, those make sense.
Right.
But then there are things like an eye single to the glory of God.
Oh, yeah.
And temperance.
Those are good ones.
Could you kind of unpack those for us a little bit? What do those even mean?
Yeah, these qualities point to a sort of inner transformation that's required,
Right.
For real meaningful service. So an eye single to the glory of God implies that you're coming at this with pure motives.
Okay.
It's about serving something greater than yourself, not
Yeah.
about like what you're going to get out of it.
Not about the personal gain.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then temperance.
Yeah, that speaks to self-control and balance.
Right.
It can be easy to get swept up in all the excitement,
Go through something new.
especially when you're part of something new and exciting, right?
Totally. Yeah.
But temperance helps you to kind of stay grounded, make wise choices,
Right.
and persevere even when things get tough.
Yeah, like check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so something else that I thought was really fascinating was this really vivid image that both sources use
Okay.
of reaping and perishing.
Yes.
And the quote is, "He that thrusteth in his sickle layeth up in store that he perisheth not."
Mm-hmm.
Why such intense language? What's going on there?
It's a powerful way to emphasize the urgency and importance of this work.
Okay.
If you think about, like, a farmer during harvest,
Right.
they have a limited window of time to gather the crops.
Right, before it all goes bad.
Exactly, yeah.
So similarly, the imagery here suggests that, actively participate in this work will bring spiritual rewards.
Right.
But if you just stand back and don't do anything...
You're going to perish.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's not enough to just admire the field. You got to get in there.
You got to get your hands dirty.
Exactly. And then both sources end on this very hopeful note.
Yes.
They say, ask and you shall receive, knock, and it shall be opened unto you.
Powerful stuff.
That's a pretty big promise, don't you think?
It is, and it really underscores this idea that knowledge and guidance are available to everyone
Okay.
who genuinely seeks them,
Yeah.
The path is open.
Like, anyone can find these answers.
Exactly, as long as you're willing to ask and seek.
Okay, so let's compare these two sources a little more directly.
Okay, sure.
I mean, we already touched on how the handwritten account is a bit more informal.
Right.
It even uses an abbreviation for and so forth,
Yeah, it's interesting.
which I thought was kind of funny.
It is. It's like seeing the rough draft
Yeah, it's
before the final edit.
totally.
So the handwritten account gives us that raw, personal perspective,
Right.
while the official version is, a little bit more refined, formal.
Having both is just so valuable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
The idea of this marvelous work,
Yeah.
the call for dedication, the qualities that are needed,
Wow.
and this promise of answers through seeking.
Big takeaways.
But I have to say, I keep coming back to that marvelous work concept.
Yeah, me too.
It just makes me wonder, what kind of marvelous work am I part of
That's a great question.
in my own life,
Yeah.
What am I passionate about?
Right.
What challenges do I feel called to address?
Those are fantastic questions, and that's the beauty of these sources, right?
Yeah.
They weren't just relevant back in 1829.
Right.
They still speak to us today.
Totally.
What work are we being called to do?
Right.
And what qualities do we need to cultivate for meaningful service?
Exactly. And as we're wrapping up here, one last thought for everyone.
Okay.
What might have been in those missing pages?
Oh, I know.
What stories, insights, or details
Right.
might be lost forever? It's quite a mystery.
It really is.
Well, thanks for joining us on this fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, this was great.
And be sure to keep exploring.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.